Okay, so it's 6 o'clock now. Um, Guys, today's session is a little hatke, just like last Sunday. Something probably most of the people don't know about. Many people find this vocation of dubbing very mysterious. They don't know what it is all about. There are a lot of branches in dubbing. There are a lot of things when it comes to dubbing. And today's guest that I have invited on Instagram for this live session she's not just a splendid artist, but she's an exceptional entrepreneur as well. You find this combination very rarely, that you're a great artist and an entrepreneur at the same time. And this woman, she is one of those exceptional cases, exceptional examples. She is the president of Sound and Vision India, which is one of the largest dubbing enterprises that we have in the country. And in Sound and Vision hosts almost all dubbing projects pertaining to Netflix original, Amazon. Mostly all Hollywood films are dubbed in different languages. The famous series Sacred Games, our own Desi series Sacred Games, was dubbed over here. The list is exhaustive, honestly. You go there, you go in the studio, and you'll find out the amount of work that is generated over here. And so this is this woman that I'm going to go live with tonight. Katrina, Kaif, Deepika Padukone, Rani Mukerji, Angelina Jolie, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Cameron Diaz. The list goes on and on and on and on. But there she is, MONA Shetty.
Hi,
Boys and
Rohan.
girls, hi. Welcome,
How
MONA
are you?
Shetty. Good, good.
Thank you so much.
Apni kemon achen? I just learned this, okay? Am I right?
আমি খুব ভালো আছি তুমি কেমন আছো
Good, good. I kind of understood what you said, but how was that Bengali that I spoke?
Very nice.
Okay, again, okay. Apni kemon achen?
আমি খুব ভালো আছি thank you.
Thanks a lot for having us and to discuss about this unique profession called dubbing. Not many people know what happens behind the films. As you say, behind the camera. I would like to say behind the films or behind the series. Dubbing is an extensive field, a career which many want to aspire to become. They aspire to become dubbing artists, and nothing much to say over here. I would like for you to tell me what is dubbing for you.
Dubbing is primarily localizing a product, specifically audiovisual product, from one language into another language. So you're basically adapting it from one language into another language by way of replacing the dialogue specifically, right?
Okay.
You basically what you would do, and primarily because we deal with films and TV shows and things like that, web series. So specifically in that space, what we do is we replace the original voices of the actors. So suppose it's an English show and it has to be dubbed in Hindi. We would replace all the voices of all the actors with voices of Hindi voice actors.
Okay. So how did this journey begin? I've heard a lot about your mother, late Mrs. Leela Ghosh. She's the one, I think she's the pioneer. She brought Hollywood films in our country. That's how this streak started, of Hollywood films being dubbed in Hindi, and then, of course, later on in different languages. So, what was this woman like? Can you just tell her what work has she done?
Well, actually, initially she was she was a multifaceted woman who wore many hats, and she came to Mumbai to be to make a life here as either a professional singer or a professional dancer. But you know how difficult it is to make a life in Mumbai, so she started out being an English teacher at Wilson College. And then she moved on to be a tourist guide, and then she moved on to be working with the Government of India Tourism Department. And during all of this, she met my father, who was in advertising, and she
Okay.
started doing a lot of copywriting in Oriya, followed by Bengali. And she started doing voiceovers for advertising, for advertisements, TVCs,
Okay.
radio spots. She started doing radio programs in those days. Those were very popular.
Yeah, yeah.
Radio shows and radio
Radio shows.
plays and radio programs. So
Yeah.
she started working on those. She used to sing jingles. She was a playback singer. She had her own albums of ghazals. So, somewhere along the way, she had many talents that could really contribute towards dubbing. And when this space kind of opened up, Mr. Shakti Samanta and Mr. Ashim Samanta were looking for
Okay.
someone to dub because Universal Pictures had contacted them at that point of time to dub Jurassic Park in Hindi.
Okay. 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 The
And
93 one?
since, yeah, yeah.
93. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And since she was already in the world of voicing and copywriting and all of that, and she used to take on these little projects. Before that, actually, Mr. Prem Sagar, Mr. Ramanan Sagar's son, had contacted her to do Krishna in Bengali,
Okay.
their long-running TV show Krishna in Bengali, and she worked with them extensively on many of their shows. And then the Samantas were their friends, so they connected them with us, and that's how this journey began with Jurassic Park being dubbed. And at the time, I was in college, and she was working full time, so she had to take leave to do the dubs. And while the scripting was on, it was me that would come home from college every day and sit with the writer, Mr. Mir Munir, and explain to him how the English dialogues should translate into Hindi, and then he would make the Hindi dialogues. So, so I've been through the
Okay.
process, I would like to say, right from the beginning, and right from the casting process to the writing process to the dubbing process. I think I also uh, dubbed one of the characters in it, one of the kids. And yeah, that's how it all began. And that film, went on to make history. So after that, it was like just
She
one after
truly,
the other films
she
coming
truly is a
in.
multifaceted personality. I so wish I could have met her. May
Yes,
her soul rest in
yes,
peace. And I would like to
yes.
sincerely thank her
And
for
very, very
bringing
hardworking. I mean, the legacy she has left behind, very hard, tough act to
remarkable.
follow.
Absolutely.
Very tough
Absolutely.
act to follow. God, I'm constantly trying to deal with it.
So basically,
Big shoes to fill.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's a challenge. Definitely, it's a legacy after all. So basically, she was not from Bombay. So
Orissa. She was
she
from
was from
Cuttack, Orissa. Yeah.
Cuttack, Orissa. Okay, and your dad is
Yeah.
from Bombay,
From Calcutta.
from
He
Calcutta.
was, yeah, but he had studied at the Film Institute. He studied direction at the Film Institute, Pune. So he was in Mumbai working with an ad agency as a filmmaker. And that's how they met, I guess, through social circles
Okay,
in
okay. So
Bombay.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
he really
someone
encouraged her to sing and to take up singing and to, do all kinds of things so that, she would always be part of the performing arts.
interesting. So
Yeah.
Sound and Vision Enterprise started in the year 1992. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
1992,
With
and now
Krishna. Yes.
with Krishna, and rest is history. So Jurassic Park was the first Hollywood film to be dubbed.
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. So have you
By
dubbed
us.
in?
By us, of course. But I'm not sure if there were too many films dubbed before that, but it is the first one that we did, and it is the first one we did for Aradhana Films for the
Okay,
Samantas.
okay.
And that was an association that went on for
Many
over
years.
20 years. Yeah,
Oh, amazing, amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So my question over here, how did Mona foray into this field of dubbing? Did she aspire to become a dubbing artist, or how did this happen?
Not really, because at the time, and also given the kind of background we came from, I didn't really know of that as a profession. And
Okay.
perhaps because I was doing it, somebody must have asked for a child voice when I was small, and my parents must have they were in advertising. So somebody must have said, "Arey, bachchi le aao," and somebody must have said, "Ah, mere paas bachchi hai, main le aata hu."
Okay, okay, that's
So, that's
very
how things
typical.
happen, right? That's how things happen, right? In
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
advertising. Yes, we're looking for a girl, we're looking for a girl, we're
अरे
looking for a
मेरी
girl.
बेटी
Okay,
है
wait.
घर पे यार. Okay.
मेरी बेटी है उसी से try कर लो. So
हाँ,
that's how you begin, you do start off with odd jobs, tiny little radio spots, one-liners, little ad films, TVCs. I had won when I was, I think, 6 years old. I had won a RAPA award for best radio spot in
video.
Odia.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and luckily for me, because of my mother and my father, I spoke Oriya and Bengali equally well. So even though my mother is a Bengali, because she was brought up in Orissa, she knew both the languages really, really well. And
Okay.
she came from a very, very cultural family. So, they had a lot of music and
Importance for
dance and
language and stuff.
performance. Yeah, yeah, all of that. So I knew English, Hindi, Bengali, Oriya really well. So that really helped me. So I used to do all these little bits and pieces. So because I did it, I think since I was a child, it never felt like this was work. This was a profession. I
Okay.
always thought this was a hobby. So I never really took it seriously. I was like, huh, just whenever you're free and somebody is calling you, you go. I mean, I don't even know what I got paid in those days. So it was never really work. It was
But
just something.
was it very
It was
consistent or it was intermittent, bulao or phir I kiya, that kind of thing? Oh, as you said, you didn't take it as a profession though. But was
No,
it like,
yeah. So I don't really have any recollection. I think it was quite regular, but mostly like weekends or after school or things like that. But not like nowadays volumes have gone up tremendously. In those days, it was very less. So that's how I started out, and then I would always be with my mom wherever she went for her recordings also. So I got to be a fly on the wall watching all the great people work. And that is a huge teacher in itself. Just
yes,
w
yes,
watching your elders work and watching your seniors work is a huge teaching. It's a huge learning for us, rather.
so,
Uh,
as you, yeah, yeah. So, you watch your elders, you watch senior people in the industry. So, did that aid in building that confidence that an artist needs? Because an artist without confidence or without a proper, shape is just like running in the woods, just without any direction. Absolutely.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
was
So
this,
this really hones your skills because you learn every single aspect of what goes on inside a studio, who is doing what, whose job is what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. You become, and because you have to stay quiet all the time, you learn to listen. Your
yeah, yes,
listening
yes,
skills get
yes.
heightened, you know, and you really learn to pick up on fine nuances. And that's what turns you into a director ultimately, right?
Definitely, definitely. And now you're pursuing an amazing job as a director, as what not actually. You're also multifaceted, I must say. And I have to, okay, I really wanted to say this, but I'll say over here right now that you have a very refined voice. It is sweet, it is enchanting, but it is refined. And I really love a voice, especially for a dubbing artist. That is really, I wanted to tell you this, and I really look up to you in my career because I started as a young boy, a young kid, working along with my dad in the industry. Then I met you. Then I got to know more about what dubbing is,
Yes,
about sound and vision, and I saw the bigger picture one day.
yeah.
So this, okay, now one interesting thing. You have been the voice of Katrina. You have been the voice of Deepika. You have been the voice of illustrious list of actresses in India, let alone. Um, so when was this breakthrough that came in your kitty? That there was this inelastic demand for Mona's voice. That we want Mona Shetty, Mona Ghosh earlier. Ani.
Um, I don't know. See, I started doing, we had moved away. My mom was because of her job in tourism. We had moved away to England for a few years, and we were living there.
Okay.
And because you speak of a refined voice, I think Some of it came from being there, living there, and learning the language, getting the language skills from there. And also because my mom used to perform regularly over there for live shows as a singer, she used to constantly teach me ghazals, and I used to sit through all her rehearsals with her band. And we have performed in whether it is a musical night, a highly ticketed show, whether it is a wedding, whether it is a mushaira, whether it is a Durga Puja, or Kali Puja or Diwali function. We have performed in every kind of function all over the world. So that taught me a hell of a lot. And when I came back, again got back to doing advertising. Um, so my mother, connected me with everybody again and said, why don't you get back to it? So I went and met Mr. Vanmali, if you know him from Words and Voices, who was a
Yeah.
very senior dubbing coordinator at the time. I went and met him and said I'd like to get back to work, and it was the best thing you could do to get some pocket money along with college, etc. Right?
Okay.
So I started doing that, and initially, you know how it is that it was very difficult because I had a bit of a British accent. I couldn't really read Hindi, Bangla, Odia, any of these languages, and my English was all wonky. So for the
Yeah.
Indian audience, so I had to quickly lose my accent, and I had to brush up on my Bangla, Odia, Hindi skills. I
Indeed.
had to learn to read. So I had all those challenges. So I used to do, and initially everybody was very helpful. All the supervisors would dictate the lines to me, and I would write them down in English, and then I would perform them, and they would correct my pronunciation and all. And along the way, producers and directors and sound engineers really started appreciating my work, and and
Okay.
passing my name around, passing my number around, and really spreading the word in terms of, oh, this is a an artist, new kid on the block. Why don't you try her out? And she's good, and things like that. And that's how I started doing a lot of advertising work, and then advertising work led to film work. In fact, I think my film work also started when my mother started doing Jurassic Park, and all the people in the film studio started noticing me being around all the time and saw that I had the potential and I was helping my mom and I knew the job. And they would keep auditioning me for stuff. So I remember back in the day, I've auditioned for South Indian films in which Manisha Koirala has acted, and it had to be dubbed into Hindi or
Indeed.
something. And my voice would always be rejected because I was a kid. I would sound like a kid on their faces. It didn't match at all. But the more you do that, the more you do auditions, the more rejections you have, the more you learn what to
Yes, I
do.
do agree. I do agree on
So,
that.
people
That's a
get
lesson.
disillusioned very easily nowadays. People's feelings are very fragile, I feel nowadays, in
Yeah.
terms of people get affected very easily if they get
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rejected. But, back in the day, it was the thing. I mean, you got rejected 100 times before you really landed a good job. And I've given countless auditions for the number of films that I've done, probably given 10 times the number of auditions.
Oh my God.
And even for the same actress over and over again.
Okay.
You've dubbed for Deepika, doesn't matter. Come and give an audition again.
Yeah, that's how it works,
It's,
definitely.
yeah, so it's
But
nothing
you
to
know
get worried about.
what really strikes me the most is you have dubbed Rani Mukherjee in Ghulam. And Rani Mukherjee has a very different pattern of voice. It's a husky
Yes.
voice, and I'm a big Rani Mukherjee fan, and I really appreciate her voice. And it's very different. So, what was it that actually didn't work between Rani Mukherjee as an actress and her voice in that film?
I think because she looked like a tiny little cute girl and didn't sound it, she sounded different. I think it felt like an image mismatch for the filmmakers, perhaps. And they wanted a voice that kind of suited the image that they had in mind for her.
Okay,
So, and being a newcomer, everybody has their apprehensions about how you will be received, how well you'll be received by audiences.
by audiences.
And yeah, I think that at that point of time, there are some preconceived notions that people tend to fall back on, that, this is what will work, so let us not take chances and let's do this
Yeah,
and let's
yeah,
do that. So I think it was just that, because otherwise her performance was fabulous. There was nothing wrong with
definitely.
it at all. Just that she had a different voice at the time for the kind of actresses that were really popular.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe at that point of time, the makers felt that, this may or may not work. We don't know, it could go either way. And therefore, they chose to have it dubbed.
But either way, she sounds really amazing because you have dubbed her. Two different kinds of voices. Her voice is
It
different.
makes a lot of difference, Rohan, when you're dubbing for a good actor. It really makes a difference
Yeah.
because, the performance is all there. You just have to follow it carefully and do the best you can under the circumstances. Try and match it as closely as possible.
Okay. So very true. This is really this is a lesson to be learned. And I think this is how, as you said, that the more you listen, the more you observe, the more you're going to learn. And I think this is a point which we have definitely learned. The better the actress, the better is the challenge, or I should say, the better
Yeah,
you learn from it.
yeah,
Definitely
yes,
something to take home.
yeah,
What is the main reason we dub actresses or actors per se? What is? I mean, of course, I can understand Hollywood films dubbed in Hindi and other languages, but
yeah,
one reason is the actress doesn't is not fluent in Hindi or any other language
yeah,
that is
yeah.
intended. But then, otherwise, what are the reasons why an actress?
So there are many reasons, many, many reasons. It could be that they're not available. It could be that they're not well. It could be that they've lost their voice, as in the case of Dushman, when I dubbed for Kajol. It was the amount of screaming there was in the film. She kept losing her voice during the
Oh
dub, so
my God. Okay.
I had to just come and fill in from time to time, because
Okay.
she couldn't have finished the whole dub in time because she kept losing her voice. It was
Yeah, 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 yeah.
such a trying, such an intense performance, that it was very difficult for her to finish it. So um, that's what I had to do. And sometimes it's their voice, sometimes it's unavailability, sometimes it is lack of experience as an actor. Sometimes it is the performance which may be slightly weak and they want to improve it slightly through
Enhance it through the
dialogue
voice. Okay.
delivery. Yeah, through dialogue delivery. Everybody thinks that people are enhancing the voice. It's not really the voice they're enhancing. It's
The
the way
performance
we
of the
speak, that the performance, the dialogue delivery, that's really important.
Okay.
So sometimes it's that, sometimes it's language skills, sometimes it's accent, sometimes it's voice quality, where the voice quality is not nice, and
Okay.
somebody is trying to play an older woman sounding too young, or somebody's sounding too heavy, and you need a sweeter voice.
Okay.
The reasons
So,
are many.
lot of reasons basically, and any reason might pop out, and
Yeah,
the actress has.
yeah,
Okay. You have dubbed Katrina Kaif in her earlier films when she ventured into acting. You have dubbed Deepika Padukone in Om Shanti Om. Debut films of Lara Datta, debut film of Bipasha Basu,
yeah,
Amisha Patel, and you just
yeah,
mentioned Kajol. An actress like
yeah,
Kajol was also dubbed. Uh,
yeah.
and of course, there are Hollywood actresses like Angelina Jolie, and the list goes on. Do you think that as a voice actress, you need to mold your voice differently for different actresses? So what is the treatment? Because it should not sound similar after all.
Correct. So, if you watched a lot of my films, you will notice that I didn't do very well in that department. I do sound similar. But
Yeah.
yes, to your point, when we watch an actress, we forget about who we are and what we sound like. We try our best to sound like the actor who we're dubbing for,
Hmm.
and we try our best to imbibe their pattern of speech, their way of acting, their body language, their demeanor, all of that. So that you sound closer and closer to that actor. At that point of time, your focus is completely on that actor and not how to sound different from anybody else.
Okay.
You understand? So your
Yes.
focus is
Yes.
entirely on that actor and what the director is asking you to do at that point of
Well,
time.
that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, just a small favor. We have seen Deepika Padukone and her famous dialogue, "Ek chutki sindoor" wala dialogue.
Oh
Would
God.
would you just like to say that dialogue once for all of us? We would like to hear
Would
it
you
from
like to
you.
remind me what that dialogue is? I'll have to
We
look it
all
up.
reminisce that dialogue. It's "एक चुटकी सिंदूर की कीमत तुम क्या जानो महेश रमेश बाबू
Ramesh
something."
Babu.
ईश्वर का आशीर्वाद होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर. That's all. Because guys, we have seen
No,
Deepika
there's
doing
three lines. ईश्वर का आशीर्वाद होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर.
सुहागन के सर
हर
का
औरत
ताज
का
होता है.
ख्वाब. सुहागन का सर का ताज होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर. हर औरत का ख्वाब होता है एक
ख्वाब
चुटकी
होता है
सिंदूर.
एक चुटकी सिंदूर. Can you just
What was
enact
the
it?
first line? ईश्वर का आशीर्वाद. Okay,
ईश्वर का
चलो.
आशीर्वाद. Anything is fine. We just want to listen because it's your voice which we have heard in the theaters and now we are Instagram live. Come on.
Yeah. एक चुटकी सिंदूर की कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू. ईश्वर का आशीर्वाद होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर. हर सुहागन का सर का ताज होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर. हर औरत का ख्वाब होता है एक चुटकी सिंदूर.
My God, amazing. That was amazing. Seriously, I can't